Picture the Sahara, the largest hot desert on Earth. 3.5 million square miles of sand, rock, and nothing. The kind of place that looks like it has always been empty and always will be. Except 6,000 years ago, it wasn't empty at all. It was green. Lakes, rivers, grasslands stretching across an area bigger than the entire United States. People lived here. They fished in those lakes. Hippos swam where there is now only dust. And then it changed. Not slowly, over millions of years. By geological standards, it flipped, almost overnight. And almost nobody can tell you why. Hold on to that question, because it's the one this whole video is built around. The planet under your feet is far stranger than it looks, and I'm going to prove it to you, one impossible truth at a time. 15 of them, until we come back to this desert and everything you think you just learned about it flips again. So where did all that Sahara water go? Keep counting. The answer is the last thing you'll hear. Number 1. The Sahara was green. We have proof, and it's almost haunting. Deep in the Sahara Desert, on the walls of a cave in the Gilf Kebir Plateau, there are paintings thousands of years old, and they show people swimming, arms out, legs kicking, swimming, in the middle of what is now one of the driest places on the planet. An entire living world with lakes wide enough to swim across, swallowed whole by sand. And here's what makes it worse. We still haven't told you how or why. That comes later. For now, just know it was real, and it was recent. Because that empty desert isn't finished surprising you. Right now, today, it's secretly keeping the largest rainforest on Earth alive. And the two are 5,000 miles apart. Number 2. The Sahara feeds the Amazon. Every year, winds lift Sahara dust high into the atmosphere and carry it clear across the Atlantic Ocean. We're talking about 27 million tons of dust, enough to fill hundreds of thousands of trucks, drifting over an entire ocean. And buried in that dust is phosphorus. The Amazon rainforest sits on ancient soil that's starved of it. The rain washes nutrients away faster than the forest can hold them. So the rainforest is fed, in part, by a desert it will never see. Roughly 22,000 tons of phosphorus rain down on the Amazon every year, and it matches, almost exactly, what the forest loses. The most lifeless place on the planet is quietly feeding the most alive one. And if you think a desert crossing an ocean is strange, wait until you meet a place so dry that NASA uses it to pretend it's on Mars. Number 3. The desert where it has never rained. In northern Chile, there is a stretch of the Atacama Desert where some weather stations have never, not once in recorded history, measured a single drop of rain. Parts of it have likely been the driest place on Earth for millions of years. It's so barren, so utterly without water, that NASA sends rovers and instruments here to test them before sending them to Mars. When engineers need the closest thing to another planet, they don't build it. They just drive to Chile. There are spots in the Atacama where, as far as we can tell, it has been dry since before humans existed. So you'd assume the words river and this part of Earth don't belong in the same sentence. Now let me show you a river in the rainforest that runs hot enough to cook anything that falls in. Number 4. The river that boils. Deep in the Peruvian Amazon runs a river the locals call Shanay Timpishka, roughly, boiled with the heat of the sun. For years, scientists assumed a boiling river that big had to be a myth or had to sit on top of a volcano. It isn't near any volcano. It stretches for miles and runs as hot as 86 degrees Celsius, just below boiling. Hot enough that small animals that fall in don't come back out. The heat comes from deep fault lines pulling scalding water up from far below the surface. And we're only 4 facts in. If a boiling river in the rainforest sounds impossible, you are not going to believe what's hiding under the ocean at number 7. But first, let's go back to the Sahara, because there's something carved into it so enormous you can only see the whole thing from space. Number 5. The Eye of the Sahara. In the middle of Mauritania sits a near-perfect bullseye pressed into the desert. Ring inside, ring, stretching about 50 kilometers across. It's so large that astronauts use it as a landmark from orbit, because from the ground, you can't even tell it's there. It's called the Richat structure, the Eye of the Sahara, and for decades, no one could agree on what made it. A meteor strike? A volcano? The answer turned out to be slow erosion peeling back a giant dome of rock, layer by layer, like the planet itself was cut open to show its rings. A target the size of a city, sitting in the sand for millions of years, and we only really saw it once we left the planet. But if a pattern in the desert is strange, what about a place where the sky itself never stops exploding with light? Number 6. The place where lightning never stops. Where the Catatumbo River meets Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela, there is a storm that almost never ends. They call it Catatumbo lightning. On its most active nights, the sky flashes hundreds of times an hour, for hours, and it does this as many as 260 nights a year. For centuries, sailors used it as a lighthouse. A natural one, a storm so reliable you could navigate by it. Imagine standing somewhere where the night sky strobes like a broken light, again and again, and has done so longer than any country has existed. If you've made it this far, you're already in deeper than most people get. Good, because this is where it stops being weird and starts being almost unbelievable. Number 7. The biggest waterfall is underwater. In the Denmark Strait, between Greenland and Iceland, cold, dense water pours over an underwater cliff and sinks. It is a waterfall entirely beneath the sea, and its drop is about 3,500 meters. For comparison, Angel Falls, the tallest waterfall you can actually see, drops under 1 kilometer. The largest underwater waterfall on the planet is more than 3 times taller, and almost nobody on Earth knows it's there because the ocean hides it completely. And while we're talking about giants hiding in plain sight, the largest living organism on Earth isn't a whale. It isn't a tree. It's something growing under a forest right now, and it's miles wide. Number 8. The largest living thing is a fungus. In Oregon, beneath the Malheur National Forest, there is a single organism so large it's hard to believe it's one thing. It's a fungus, an armillaria, and it spreads underground across roughly 2,385 acres. That's nearly 4 square miles. 1. Living thing. It's been quietly growing for thousands of years, threading itself through the soil, occasionally pushing mushrooms up through the surface like the tips of an iceberg. What you'd see walking through that forest is almost nothing. The actual organism is the ground itself. The largest living organism on the planet isn't something you can stand next to. It's something you'd be standing on. We've covered Earth's strangest places. Now we go down into the planet itself, because there's a spot in the ocean where the sea is over 100 meters lower than it should be. And gravity is the reason. Number 9. The gravity hole in the Indian Ocean. We like to imagine Earth's gravity as even, the same pull everywhere. It isn't. The planet's mass is lumpy, and that means gravity is slightly stronger in some places and weaker in others. In the Indian Ocean, there's a vast region where gravity is so much weaker that the sea surface itself sags. The water level there is around 106 meters lower than the global average. Scientists call it the Indian Ocean Geoid Low, but you can just call it the gravity hole. That's 9. 6 to go. And remember the question from the very beginning. Where did the Sahara's water go? We're getting closer. But first, 3 facts from Earth's past so extreme they barely sound real, starting with the time an entire sea vanished and came back in a single, world-shaking flood. Number 10. The Mediterranean Sea dried up. About 5.5 million years ago, the Mediterranean Sea was cut off from the Atlantic. And then it did the unthinkable. It evaporated, almost entirely. What had been a sea became a deep, blistering basin of salt, more than a kilometer below the level of the ocean outside it. For hundreds of thousands of years, the Mediterranean was essentially a dry, salt-crusted canyon. Then the Atlantic broke through at Gibraltar, and the refill wasn't gentle. In what's called the Zanclean Flood, water roared in with a force that may have raised the sea by meters per day, refilling an entire sea, possibly within just a couple of years. A sea that vanished and came back. And if that's too big to picture, go smaller. Because 2 billion years ago, a single spot in Africa became a nuclear reactor. On its own, no humans required. Number 11. Earth built its own nuclear reactor. In Oklo, in the country of Gabon, there's a uranium deposit that did something that shouldn't be possible by accident. It started a self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction. Naturally, about 1.7 billion years ago, groundwater seeped in and slowed the neutrons just enough to keep the reaction going. When the water boiled off, it stopped. When it seeped back, it started again, pulsing on and off like a heartbeat. This natural nuclear reactor ran for hundreds of thousands of years, a billion years before anyone built one on purpose. We didn't invent nuclear power. We rediscovered something the Earth had already done. And if a natural reactor sounds extreme, the Earth once did something to its entire surface that's almost impossible to picture. It froze. All of it. Number 12. The whole planet was once a snowball. Around 700 million years ago, Earth may have frozen over almost completely. Ice from the poles spread until it reached the equator. Oceans capped in ice. Continents buried. A white planet drifting through space, looking nothing like the blue world you know. Scientists call it Snowball Earth. And then, slowly, volcanoes pumped enough gas into the air to trap heat again, the ice cracked, and the planet thawed. Life didn't just survive it. Not long after, it exploded into the wild variety of creatures that eventually led to you. The Earth has been a fireball, a snowball, a desert, and an ocean. And it has never stopped reshaping itself. In fact, it's tearing itself apart right now. Number 13. Africa is splitting apart. Run a line down East Africa and you're tracing a crack in the planet, the East African Rift. This is plate tectonics happening in real time. The continent is literally pulling apart there, a few millimeters every year. It sounds slow. It is by a human clock. But the destination isn't slow at all. In 2005, in the Afar region, a 60-kilometer crack tore open in a matter of days. Given enough time, a few million years, the ocean will pour in, and the Horn of Africa will break off as its own landmass, with a new sea between. The map in your classroom isn't permanent. It's just a single frame of a planet still in motion. And it's not just the ground that's restless. The sky above you isn't as fixed as it looks either. Earth has been quietly collecting extra moons. You just never heard about them. Number 14. Earth has more than one moon. Not big ones, but every so often, Earth's gravity captures a small asteroid, and pulls it into a temporary orbit, a mini-moon that loops around us for months or years before slipping away again. Some keep us company for far longer. There's an asteroid called Kamo'olalewa that travels alongside Earth as a quasi-moon, circling the Sun in near lockstep with us. A quiet second moon most people will never know is there. That's 14. One left. And number 15 is the one I promised you at the very start. The answer to where the Sahara's water went and whether it's ever coming back. Stay with me for 10 more seconds. This is the one that loops the whole thing shut. Number 15. The Sahara will be green again. Here's the secret the green Sahara was hiding this entire video. What happened to it wasn't an accident. It was a cycle. Earth wobbles on its axis on a slow, steady rhythm, roughly every 20,000 years. That wobble shifts where the monsoon rains fall. So every 20,000 years or so, the rains swing back north, and the Sahara Desert turns green again. Lakes, rivers, grasslands. It has happened over and over for millions of years. The desert you pictured at the start of this video isn't the Sahara's true face. It's just the Sahara holding its breath. Those swimmers painted on the cave wall weren't painting a fantasy. They were painting their normal world. And in roughly 10,000 to 15,000 years, the wobble will swing back, the rains will return, and the desert will bloom once more. So the green Sahara isn't a thing that happened. It's a thing that's coming back. We're just alive during the dry half of the cycle, which leaves one strange thought to sit with. Every impossible fact in this video was just the Earth on a timescale too long for us to feel. So the real question isn't whether the planet does impossible things. It's how many of them are happening under your feet right now, slow, silent, and certain, that you'll simply never live long enough to see.